The last time I walked into that house, I knocked. My own front door, 51 years old. The same brass handle I'd installed myself in 1973. And I knocked on it like a man who wasn't sure he was welcome. I had my key in my jacket pocket the whole time. Never reached for it. Inside, I could hear a party. Music, glasses. Someone's birthday, I think. My son's wife had been hosting in my living room for 3 hours by then. The furniture was rearranged, the way she liked it, the way it had nothing to do with me. I stood there on the porch with a folder under my arm, and a man named Thornton beside me, and I thought, just for a second, that I should just go. That none of this was worth it. That second passed. Before I tell you how it came to this, if you're finding this story worth listening to, I'd appreciate a like and subscribe to Familiax Revenge. It helps me keep telling them. 8 weeks earlier. Let me start there. 8 weeks before I knocked on that door, my mornings still belonged to me. 6:10 a.m. same as always. I'd stand at the east-facing kitchen window and read the bay. Cloud formation, wind direction. How the sycamore at the property line was moving. 31 years as a maritime surveyor. The habit doesn't ask permission. The body just goes to the window, and the window tells you what kind of day it's going to be. That Tuesday east wind. Maybe rain by afternoon. I filed it away the way I file everything, quietly, in order, without telling anyone. The turntable was on the shelf in the adjacent room. I could see it from where I stood. A Thorens TD-125 Swiss-made 1972. Bought used from a music teacher in Rehoboth the year Miriam and I were first married. The platter had a wobble. Not much. 0.2 degrees off level, which I'd measured myself with a machinist's level in 1991, and never fully corrected, because Miriam said it sounded better for being slightly imperfect. I told her that was acoustic physics, not sentiment. She said I was probably right. She always said that when she thought I'd missed the point. I didn't play it on Tuesdays. I looked at it anyway. Miriam had been gone 3 years by then. The house felt different without her. Not empty exactly. More like a room where the temperature has changed, and you keep checking the thermostat. Even though you know that's not the problem. The 1971 hardwood floors still creak the same way. Third board from the left in the hallway. The hinge on the back door that needed oil every November. I knew every sound this house made. I'd been learning them since before Ingram was born. I made my coffee. I drank it at the window. The sycamore moved east, then steadied. I thought about Miriam, not about anything specific. Just that the house had been warmer when she was in it. And whether that was her, or whether I was simply colder now. I didn't finish the thought. I never did. The coffee was good. That was enough for that morning. They arrived on a Sunday. 6 suitcases, 2 children. Ingram's engine still running in the driveway when the first bag hit the porch step. Beatrix was warm those first 3 days. Asked where things belonged. Deferred on dinner. Called me Obi. That was Miriam's name for me. Didn't correct her. Didn't know how to say, that name isn't yours to use, without sounding like a difficult old man. So I let it go. Filed it. Day 4, she was already in the kitchen at 6:10 when I came down. My coffee had been moved to a different shelf. Herbal tea in its place. Easier to reach. She said, not looking up. I made the tea. I drank it standing at the window. Not anger, something quieter than anger. Like watching a room rearrange itself while you're still sitting in it. I noted the sycamore moving west, which meant the front was coming through earlier than I'd read. I said nothing about the coffee. That was the first domino. I knew it was the first domino. I drank the tea anyway. Day 11, Ingram came to my bedroom door himself. Not Beatrix Ingram. He said the word temporary, twice in 4 sentences, which told me he'd practiced this. I asked him one question. How long is temporary, Ingram? His face went blank and his eyes moved slightly left. I'd been watching that tell for 47 years, since he was 4 years old and had broken something he didn't want to admit to. We're figuring it out, Dad. I mean. He trailed off. Always trailing off. I picked up my own suitcase. My right knee has been unreliable since 2019 and the stairs took concentration. He watched me go down. He didn't offer to carry it. Funny what you remember. Not the room, not the words. Just that he watched me go and kept his hands in his pockets. Day 19. I came to the side door and found my Thorens TD-125 in a black garbage bag on the step. Beatrix was in the kitchen doorway, not looking at me. Dust collector, she said. Something happened in my chest, not pain, more like a gear catching wrong. I said 4 words. Controlled. Cold. The way I used to call readings on a tide survey when the numbers weren't what anyone wanted to hear. That was your mother's. From the kitchen, Ingram. Dad. B didn't know. She knew. All three of us knew she knew. Nobody moved. Nobody said the true thing. The turntable disappeared before the week was out. 3 days later, I found it at a neighbor's curb. I carried it back right knee, 2 stops on the stairs, and put it in the guest room closet. Nobody to tell. That Thursday evening, Alwyn came and sat on the guest room floor beside my chair without asking, the way she used to at 8 years old. She told me they'd visited Pine Grove the week before. Her parents. To look at a room, I turned one more page of the photo album, Miriam at the Delaware Shore, 1987, squinting into the sun. Go to bed, Alwyn, I said. She stayed another minute, then she went. At 11 that night, I called her back. I shouldn't have told you to go to bed. Long pause. I know, Grandpa. I hung up before she could say anything else. Sat with the phone for 20 minutes, didn't call back. Couldn't find the words for what I'd done wrong, and finding the words was the only way I knew how to fix things. So I sat there and didn't fix it. They took me to Pine Grove on a Wednesday. Beatrix did most of the talking, professional care, better support, we want what's best. Ingram nodded at everything she said, the way he'd been nodding for 11 years of marriage. I asked 2 practical questions about the facility. I said I'd think about it. In the car back, Ingram said, Dad, it's actually a really nice place. I was watching the tidal marsh through the passenger window. The water level was low, consistent with the morning reading. I did the surveyor's inventory without meaning to. What I had, what I didn't. A deed filed in 1974, my name only. A phone with Ferris Algate's number somewhere in the contacts. One tidal window before this became permanent. I didn't tell Ingram any of that. I'll think about it, I said again. He seemed satisfied. He shouldn't have been. Pine Grove had a common room with good windows and bad coffee. Day 3, I found a man named Ferris Algate there, 74 years old, hip replacement. Abandoned crossword on the table beside him. We sat across from each other for 10 minutes without speaking. That suited me fine. Then he said, You're not here for the food. I told him in 2 sentences. House in my name. Son moving me out of it. Ferris put the crossword face down. Who told you the deed matters? I said nobody had, I was the one who filed it. He made a sound like a filing cabinet opening, dry and precise. Friend, he said. That's the whole case. Ferris had a nephew named Horace. 38 realtor jacket that cost more than my first car. He came to Pine Grove under the cover of visiting his uncle, which was the kind of arrangement I distrusted on principle and accepted out of necessity. I got out my spiral notebook, same brand I'd used for surveys, same narrow ruling, and wrote down what he told me. Horace noticed the notebook. Ferris noticed Horace noticing. Neither of them said anything. We scheduled a property walk through for the following Thursday. The van driver, Amos, said same time Thursday. Without looking up from his clipboard, I said yes, week 2. Horace called with a problem. A home equity line from 2009, I'd paid it off, but never filed the discharge. My error, my filing. 50 years of handling my own paperwork, and I'd missed one document, and now it sat on the title like a splinter I'd put there myself. 2-week delay minimum. The window was narrowing. I sat with it 1 full day. 50 years of filing my own paperwork, and this is what I'd missed, not them. Me. That was harder to sit with than the delay. Checked the parking lot trees at 6:10, east wind, consistent. Called Horace the next morning. What do we need to file? No explanation, no apology, just the next step. There was a pause on his end, like he'd expected something else from me. He didn't get it. We filed the discharge that Friday, and the window opened again, smaller than before but still there. You work with the tide you have. The first Thursday Amos drove. Horace met us at the house while Ingram and Beatrix were at work, the children at school. I walked Thornton through every room, every creak, every hinge, every window that needed weather stripping. In the kitchen I said, Bay view in the morning, good light until about 11, Miriam's words. Out of my mouth before I decided to say them. I kept walking outside. Beatrix had replanted the garden with things I didn't recognize. I pointed to the rear shed. Storage. Gardening tools. Thornton nodded. I didn't explain the shed further. Some things weren't part of the transaction. Ingram visited Pine Grove the following week. First time, he brought good coffee, the expensive kind, which told me he felt guilty about something specific. We talked about the grandchildren, the weather, not the house, not the turntable, not how long temporary was. Before he left he said, Dad, I just want you to know we're doing what we think is best. I said. I know you are, Ingram. Silence. He left looking relieved. I watched him go from the window. He'd come to feel better, and he did. That was the whole visit. Almost same time Thursday. Second week running. I said yes. Then Ferris told me the deal had nearly died. Thornton's attorney flagged my answer about family awareness. Incomplete, they called it. Ferris had called Thornton directly without asking me first and smoothed it over personally. I found out after. You should have told me first, I said. Ferris, you wouldn't have let me do it. I said, no'd. We sat with that. He was correct. I was furious. Both things were true and neither one helped. The sale closed on a Thursday. Ferris's room, documents on his bedside table, Thornton on speakerphone. I used the same pen I'd signed the 1974 mortgage with, a Waterman burgundy barrel, 50 years in my desk drawer. Before I signed, I told Horace to add one line: occupants may retain garden tools in the rear shed. He said that was unusual. I said I knew. Miriam's trowel was in there. Her kneeling pad. 3 seed packets in her handwriting. I found the only position between keeping and losing, and put it in writing. The night before, Ferris asked if I was sure. I said I was sure about the house. He asked about Ingram. I said I wasn't sure about Ingram. He nodded and didn't push. That's why he was the right person to be there. Thursday. Charcoal jacket. Miriam bought it for our 40th anniversary dinner. Thornton at the curb. Amos at the van. Same time Thursday. I said no, I didn't think so. He nodded. All right then. 4 words different from every other week. I got in. We arrived at 2:47. Music through the door, voices, someone laughing. I had my key. I knocked. Alwyn opened it. She looked at me, then Thornton, then the folder. Stepped aside without a word. I will never ask if that was planned. I don't want to know badly enough to make her answer. Ingram came from the kitchen and took the folder before he understood what it was. Face blank, eyes left. The house sold Thursday. This is the new owner. You have 30 days. Beatrix came to the doorway and went uncertain. First time I'd seen that on her. Ingram said, Dad, and stopped. 47 years. Still couldn't finish it. I turned to leave. Then louder behind me. You couldn't just talk to me. I stopped. Didn't turn. I asked you one question. How long is temporary? You said you were figuring it out. I opened the door. I figured it out. I walked out and didn't look at Alwyn. Couldn't. That was the cost of the only thing I was proud of. Not using her, and I paid it at the door. Amos drove back through the marsh road. I watched the reads. Water level consistent with the morning reading. I checked without meaning to. The way you check things you've always checked. I looked at my phone. No call from Ingram. I knew there wouldn't be. I checked anyway, then put it face down on my knee. I had one. I kept waiting to feel something clean about it. It didn't come. Just the reads, and the road, and the phone with no missed calls. Ingram didn't call that week. Or the week after. I kept his number at the top of my contacts, which I told myself was practical and wasn't. I couldn't call him either. My pride wouldn't allow the first move. And I knew this about myself, now in a way I hadn't before. And knowing didn't help. 3 days after the party, Alwyn texted, the shed has her kneeling pad. I moved it inside. I read it 4 times. I typed, thank you, 2 words. Not enough. I knew that when I sent it. I sent it anyway. That was new for me, sending the insufficient thing, rather than waiting for the right words that never came. 6 weeks later, the guest house. Eastern veranda, bay visible, sycamore still at the property line. I set the thorns on a shelf and played Miriam's record for the first time in 3 years. Chet Baker, 1973. The platter wobbled 0.2 degrees, same as always. She was right. It did sound better for being slightly imperfect. I'd told her that was acoustic physics. I was wrong. I know that now. I set up educational trusts for the grandchildren. Alwyn's had a handwritten note. You always knew where the door was. I didn't know if it was the right thing to say. I sent it anyway. Second new thing in 6 weeks, 6:10 a.m., Eastern veranda. Spiral notebook open, nothing written. Phone face up beside it. Ingram's number still at the top. Bay direction, cloud formation, sycamore movement. I read all of it. East wind. Consistent. I didn't pick up the phone. Some windows you watch and don't climb through. I read the trees instead. If this story stayed with you, I'd appreciate a like and subscribe to Familix's Revenge. It helps me keep sharing them. Thank you for listening.